everybody. My name's Adam, and you're listening once again to the Farm and Country Podcast, the show where we talk about living your dream life in the country on a small farm or on your homestead. Today it's episode 19. It's Friday, and we're talking about making money. And today we're specifically talking about virtual assistants. However, before we start that, let me give you the message from our sponsor, Audible. Today, you can get a free audiobook from Audible. If you don't have time to sit and listen to books, and believe me, I know what that's like. I don't have time to sit and, read books. Why not listen to a book instead? Get yourself a free audiobook from audibletrials.com/FCP. You can keep the audiobook, and the trial costs nothing. If you like Audible, you can pay for their monthly subscription, and your first audiobook is always free. So that's audibletrials.com/FCP. Okay, so we're talking about virtual assistants today. So so when I was a kid, there was always these little advertisements on TV, and when the internet came out, and there was these ads that would pop up and say, work from home, do this special work from home thing, and you can make money from your very own home. And the idea of working from home was basically like a dream come true for people who, like myself, have to commute a long way to get to their job. My commute to get to my job, and you're not even going to believe this, is 2 hours each direction. So that's a long commute. Obviously, it has to be worth commuting to, and my job is worth commuting to. It pays quite well. It's a good job, and it's not every day of the week, so I do have a fair amount of spare time. But it is a long drive, and if someday I could get rid of that drive, I would definitely take that opportunity. But let's say that you're working and you're driving to work and you're not making very much money, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I would like to get into a position where I could be at home most of the time. Well, did you know that there are actually jobs that are virtual, 100% virtual, where you never see your boss? They're actual jobs, they're positions where you're doing work on a daily basis. You have a specific task to do, and you have to get them done. But your boss isn't in the room. In fact, he might be on the other side of the world, for all you know. And this is something called virtual assistants, and it has really taken off in the last 3 years, but it's probably been going on for longer than that. But in the last 3 years, the rise of online businesses has led to the need for people to do things online, and the ability of those people to do those things from anywhere in the world. Okay, so just imagine a job that you could do from anywhere. You could be in the middle of the Gobi Desert, and as long as you had an internet connection, you could open up your laptop and do your work. It gives a whole new world of opportunity to people who they just don't want to do the rat race thing anymore. Now let's start by talking, what is a virtual assistant and what is it not? Okay, first of all, a virtual assistant is not some kind of scam. It's an actual thing that people do. It's basically a secretary. And of course, as being a secretary, you don't earn CEO money, right? So it's not this big, huge, lucrative thing where you're going to earn a bunch of money doing this virtual assistant thing. The amount of money that people are willing to pay for these kinds of things is not a lot, just simply because it's not very difficult to get into this type of job. However, there is some things that you do need to have in order to get into it. We'll talk about that in a minute. If I were to guess what the hourly rate would be for being a virtual assistant, I'd have to say that it would be around, just ballpark figure, I'd say between $12 and $17 an hour. And of course, that depends on how fast you work, right? Normally, with being a virtual assistant, the boss is paying you not for the time spent, but for the job accomplished. So it's piecework, really, if you want to get down to it, and that's fine. For somebody like me, I can work fast. I know what I'm doing, usually with things. So I can get a job done really quickly. When I was cleaning windows, I wasn't charging people by the hour. I was charging people for the entire job. So if I did the job really quickly, then I made more money. And of course, the more efficient you get at doing whatever it is that you're doing as a virtual assistant, then the more money you make per hour, and the more jobs you can take on. You can work for more than one person. If you've got more time in the day, you've got a client who doesn't take very much time up on your day, or you've managed to automate some of his or her stuff, yeah, you could pick up another client, or you can do some side work. That's the beauty of this. It's so flexible. But on the other hand, one of the drawbacks to being a virtual assistant is that it's not necessarily guaranteed income. So let's talk about some of the things that people do as virtual assistants, and I'll tell you how you can get into this kind of job if you're qualified and if that's the kind of thing you'd like to do. Okay, first of all, you absolutely need to have a computer. It is not possible to be a virtual assistant without a computer. In the past, I used to hear rumors of corporations that would hire people to stuff envelopes or something like that. Or you would file papers, or, I don't know, these administrative jobs that didn't require computers. But nowadays, you're probably not going to find anybody who needs you to do anything physical. Everything that you're going to be doing is going to be on a computer. So you need to have a good quality, reliable computer that has a good, consistent internet connection. Now you notice that I didn't say fast internet connection, because it doesn't have to be a fast internet connection. It can simply be, if you really have nothing else, you can use dial-up. God help me if you have to use dial-up, but is there still dial-up? Is that still a thing? I haven't had dial-up on any computer that I've used for more than 12 years, I think. So I'm a little bit out of the loop on that one. But yeah, if your internet connection is just dial-up, as long as you can connect to the internet and, navigate web pages and maybe do some Skyping. Skyping, by the way, is basically having a phone conversation with somebody over the internet. And it's really easy to do. You just put a mic in front of you or a headset and you talk to people. You need a computer. You need an internet connection that is reliable and doesn't go down. Okay, so also I would recommend having a backup internet connection, and chances are you've already got one. If you own a smartphone which has a data plan on it, you've pretty much got your backup internet connection right in your pocket. You can connect a cell phone to your computer and tell the cell phone, hey, I would like to share your internet connection. And the computer will say, oh, okay, I'm going to connect to the internet through this cell phone. And most brand new computers, even computers that are 5 years old, will pretty much just do that automatically, as long as you turn on what's called your hotspot on your smartphone. Now, I'm not going to explain how to do all that. Don't have time. But there's lots of instructions on the internet for doing that kind of thing. It's a good backup system if you have internet that's not 100% reliable. I'm in that boat. I have theoretically it's unlimited internet, but it's super, super, super slow. And it's probably the slowest internet you can get without actually having dial-up internet, which would be impossible because we don't actually have a phone here. But I mean, it does work. You can watch Netflix, but pretty much if one person's watching Netflix, then nobody else can do anything. It's that slow. It's a 5 megabits per second download and 1 megabit per second upload. So the upload speed is even worse than the download speed, which is kind of an annoying problem. We're working on it. But I do have my cell phone, and I've had to use my cell phone when the internet connection was really acting up, and it worked fine. I just plugged it in, and, as long as you're not watching, big long videos, you're not going to use up a lot of your data plan, which is what most people are worried about, right? So you've got your internet connection. Now what do you do? Well, after having an internet connection and a computer, you at least need to know how to use your computer. Okay, so you need to know how to send emails. You need to know how to use Skype, or at least you need to be able to learn these things. And if you're a computer newbie and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. What's Skype? What's a computer? What's a keyboard? Okay, well, you can learn these things, and there are lots of little classes out there that you can take, or you can just go to a site called YouTube and start learning about all these things. So I have to tell you this story. I've got a little side hustle designing t-shirts and coffee mugs and pillowcases and stuff like that, and then posting them on Amazon for people to buy. I haven't made a ton of money doing it. It takes a while to get started. You need to create a lot of designs, really, to get kind of going. But I played around yesterday with a program called Inkscape. And if you've never heard of Inkscape, it's basically it's a vector drawing program where you can create images, logos, stuff like that, but it's really, really complicated. It's a highly detailed program with lots of it can do a lot, but it's so incredibly complicated. So I saw this thing yesterday. It was a tutorial on how to make a heartbeat with a dog's head as one of the heartbeats. And I thought, wow, that's cool. I want to learn how to do that. So I opened a YouTube video, and I was watching the YouTube video, and the guy's showing you how to do this with this free program called Inkscape. And so I followed the instructions, and I made a heartbeat with a drawing that with an image that I had taken off the internet, and I turned it into a heartbeat. Anyway, it was a pretty cool thing that I did. I was really proud of having learned to do this, and I learned it from YouTube. So there isn't anything you can't learn by using YouTube as basically an instructional video system, and they're all free. People are putting these videos up just because they want you to watch them. And sometimes you'll find advertising on YouTube. That's fine. People are getting paid when you watch that advertising. So it just encourages them to put more content on YouTube. So if you want to learn how to do things like handling shipping software or handling online sales software, e-commerce software, go to YouTube and start looking up how to use Shopify, how to use WooCommerce, how to use BigCommerce, how to create a web page, how to change CSS coding, how to write HTML. And if you don't know anything about what I just said, well, just start, typing those things into YouTube, and you'll see things pop up like how to write HTML. HTML is what makes a web page into a web page. It's the codes that say, put this picture over here, put this text over here, make a table that's this wide, put this in it, so on and so forth. Now, generally speaking, if you're doing virtual assisting, you're not going to need to do really complex stuff like that. But if you know how to do it, you become so much more valuable, because oftentimes you'll be dealing with bosses and entrepreneurs who don't know very much about that stuff at all. And having a qualified virtual assistant means that, they're going to take care of you. They're going to pay you, well, they should be paying you good money. And the beauty is, if they don't, there's lots of other entrepreneurs out there who will. So how do you get a job as a virtual assistant? Now that we've talked about some of the things that you're going to do. Actually, I'll give you a few more of the tasks that you're going to do as a virtual assistant just before I move on to how to get a job doing that. So here's a few things that a virtual assistant might do. And I'll start from the easiest things and we'll go up to the very, very hardest things. Okay, so the easiest things that you might be required to do is send emails and take phone calls. Yes, with an internet connection, you can be the point of contact for somebody as a phone representative. So basically, you'd be there for, and there's a couple ways that they would do that. You can actually purchase a 1-800 number, and people will call the 1-800 number, and there's two options. It'll go to a voicemail where you leave a voicemail and get a return phone call, or maybe you have we have 4 hours of live customer service time, and you're the receptionist for that. Or if you have an entrepreneur who they take leads by telephone, then you might be the secretary that sits there on the telephone when they're not available and takes phone calls and writes down names of leads. Leads being people who are interested in hiring the entrepreneur for some purpose. So that's a lead. And you're basically a secretary. I mean, you don't have to have very many skills to do that, but you do have to be good at using the phone. You have to be fluent in English, and depending on what the entrepreneur is doing, you have to at least know something about their business and be aware of sort of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and be able to answer maybe a few questions about it. So you have to be able to learn things. Really, it's no different than being a secretary for somebody in a company. It's about the same level of basic requirements. You know, secretaries that sit at a desk in an office building have to be able to use the computer because they're sending emails and stuff. Except the difference is that you're sitting in your home. So really, I mean, it's kind of perfect for people who either don't have kids or their kids are all grown up and in school or something like that. You know, you've got time during the day and you've got nothing else to do. Maybe you have a few chores to do now and then, but you've got time outside of that to take phone calls and stuff like that. You could even do your chores while you're taking phone calls, as long as it doesn't interfere with it. You know, you could wear your headset if it was wireless, and then as soon as you get a phone call, you go back in the house. It's kind of perfect, guys. So a few other things that virtual assistants might be required to do is posting product descriptions to websites, changing, amending, or adding products to listings. This is a big one because anybody who's got an e-commerce site, and I've got a few, you're constantly updating your product listings to kind of optimize them. You want them to look good. You want the pictures to look good. So you might be required to do things like just some basic picture editing, removing watermarks or cropping pictures, little things like that. They're really easy to learn how to do, but entrepreneurs sometimes they don't have the time to spend doing those kinds of little things. So they'll say, "Hey, virtual assistant, can you do this, 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 and this?" And they might. Honestly, I don't know how they send these jobs to you every day, but they probably have some kind of software program that says, you log in every day and you see the list of tasks that need to be done, and then it'll probably be listed in priority, and you just do the tasks. And if you get them done early, then you're done early. If you get, if it takes you till the end of the day, then I guess it takes you till the end of the day. It depends on what the entrepreneur or the boss would like. He might say, "Oh, I really need these done in the next hour or so." But generally speaking, you'll have a prearranged business relationship where you'll say, "Okay, this is what I need from you. These will be your tasks. It's going to take you about 10 hours a week, blah, 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 blah." So actually, I've opened up a site called Upwork here, Upwork.com, And there's all kinds of virtual assistant jobs on here. So I'm going to read a few of these virtual assistant jobs to you, and I'll just give you a breakdown. It'll give you an idea of what people are looking for in terms of a virtual assistant. So here's one that says experienced virtual assistant for Shopify and Oberlo. Okay, Shopify is an online shopping site. When you go to my store, farmandcountry.store, you're shopping on a Shopify store. Okay, so there's a back end to that store where you edit all the stuff, all the descriptions, put in pictures, blah, 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 etc. And that is Shopify. Oberlo is a drop shipping software. It's really easy to learn. It's added on to Shopify. So it says, looking for a long-term virtual assistant to assist in the building and maintenance of Shopify online stores. Must be familiar and experienced with Shopify, Oberlo, and drop shipping in general. Great creative English writing skills for descriptions necessary. I'll click more. Photo editing a plus. Ooh. Must be able to devote approximately 6 daily U.S. hours, not metric hours, guys. U.S. hours to this project. I guess maybe they mean like time during the U.S. time zones. So, and future products and maintenance. This job was posted for a mobile device. Okay, anyway, so basically something like that is, you're going to see a lot of that. I know people are looking to do, online stores, but they don't want to spend the time mucking around with pictures and stuff, just like I was saying. They want someone else to do all the little grunt work. Now, typically, somebody who has experience in Shopify and Oberlo is probably running an online store of their own. So this is a good way to dip your toe into running your own online store while at the same time making a little bit of money to cover your expenses or to support yourself while you're doing this. It's a great way for entrepreneurs to make sort of side money by basically hiring themselves out as a virtual assistant. They already have the experience. They know how to post advertising on Facebook. They know how to make Pinterest pins and stuff like that. So an entrepreneur actually makes a very valuable virtual assistant. Now, if an entrepreneur is good, he probably won't have time to be a virtual assistant. But when you're just getting started, you can sort of dip your toe in that by, working as a virtual assistant for a few months. So that's a few things here. Let me read another one here on a virtual assistant. Administrative telephone support required. I won't read the entire thing, but you need to, they're looking for a list of commercial kitchens and other places where they can teach cooking classes. So you will be required to contact them by telephone and discuss our requirements and provide a short list of venues who are open to hosting classes. So this is a short-term job here. This is a less than 1 week job, and they pay you basically on the job. So that's another option too. You don't have to be a full-time, long-term virtual assistant. A lot of people will go around and they'll find, little jobs here and there, and they'll bid for that job on Upwork or on Fiverr. That's another place where you can, sell your online services. And they'll complete the job, they'll get paid, and then they'll look for the next job. Now that's a little bit more tough because you're always thinking, where's my next job coming from? And, it's just not a great way to establish long-term income. But it's okay, if you're like, well, I got a week off and I would like to make some money, maybe I can just look at one of these little short jobs. So that's kind of that, guys. That's virtual assisting in a nutshell. Now, I wanted to go on to read another article here that I found on Yahoo, and this just popped up at me as I was logging in to my computer. And I thought, wow, this is a brilliant thing. I have to read some of this article to you guys because it has to do with what to do with that surplus money. Okay, so let's suppose that you are a family, of 2 or 3 or 4 people, and one of you works and earns a full-time income that pays the bills, okay? Now the other person has some time, maybe not a lot of time. Maybe you don't have enough time to work a full-time job, or you don't have two cars, or it would just conflict, childcare, stuff like that. Well, you don't have to leave your home to earn money, and I've just been telling you about this. So let's say that